Good day, students! In this video, I would like to go over the upcoming character banners which are bound to arrive in patch 2.2. I will analyze the current worth of the rerun units, how good the 4-star characters from both halves of the patch are, and how the 5-star units stack against each other and against other units in the game. I will also go briefly over some updated builds for the rerun units, for those of you looking to grab them. So sit down, open your notebooks, and sharpen your pencils, as today's class is hereby in session. Let us start by briefly analyzing the worth of the 4-star units on both halves of the patch. In the first phase, the 4-star lineup will include March 7th, Hanya, and Xueyi. It is important to note that out of those, you can get March for free by playing the main story mission, and both Hanya and Xueyi were available from the main event of 2.1. All three of them can make a decent team if you just started the game, as you can get a shielder in March 7th, a support in Hanya, and a damage dealer in Xueyi. This team should have no problem getting you through the early levels of the game, but if you are looking at the late game, only Xueyi will retain her value. March 7th has a cleanse on demand from her skill, which is a great tool for every sustain unit, as there are plenty of debuffs available in the enemy arsenal. Her shield is also pretty decent in value, although the downside is that she can only apply it to one target per use, so she will struggle against hard-hitting AoE scenarios. But she also has an aggro boost to the target affected by her shield, so she is a great partner for units who want to consistently get hit, like Clara and Blade. So if you are enjoying either of those two, March will be a decent addition for them. She can be slotted in follow-up teams, as her talent will trigger a follow-up attack when the target of the shield gets hit. So if you add in the free doctor ratio, you have a decent follow-up team, as her ultimate and technique freeze will count towards ratio's debuff quota. In order to make her relevant in the end game as well, you will need some serious stat investment in her relics. Look for an effect hit rate to increase the chance of her ultimate freeze to apply, speed to keep cycling her shield, and her ultimate uptime and defense to have stronger shields. For Eidolon investment, check out the video in the top corner. The link is also in the description. Hanya, the first skill point generator we had released in the game, the key word is first, as the second one really took the crown and ran with it. But this segment is about her, and not Sparkle, so let's get back on track. Hanya's strengths do not lie solely in her skill point engine mechanic. She is a great buffer, especially for a solo or a dual DPS team, as the speed and attack buffs she provides with her ultimate are universal. And while the buffs from her ultimate are only felt by one ally, the burden damage increase she inflicts on the enemy with her skill is a nice overall team damage increase. Hence she can be slotted in most of the team archetypes. The issue with her is that, although she is very universal, all of the current Harmony units can also be used in most compositions, and her entire kit is too single-target focused. The buffs she gives are single-target, and the burden will only affect one target at a time, while the other Harmony options have team-wide buffs active consistently. She is nonetheless a good support for Imbibitor if you missed on Sparkle, and she is also hot and has some amazing animations, so depending on how much that weighs for you, all the weaknesses I just mentioned may seem redundant. For Eidolon investment, check out the video in the top corner. The link is also in the description. Xueyi, like her sister, won in the animation department, but unlike her sister, she is a part of a niche of units that have only recently started to receive some love from the developers, and that is the break niche. With the addition of Ruin Mei, which helped turn enemies' weakness shields to shreds, new break effect sets were introduced recently, and even more units focused on this niche on the horizon. Xueyi did not have the proper setup to truly shine when she was first introduced, but I feel things are about to change pretty soon. Now, what makes her great is that she has the ability to ignore the element weakness of the enemy with her kit, and the ability to turn on the break effect stat you will want to stack up in order to boost that big nuke, when you will inevitably break the enemy shield to even more damage percent for her. This also acts as a double-edged sword, as she will want some insane relic pieces in order to maximize all of the stats she needs, such as break effect, crit rate, and crit damage, as well as attack and speed. But with the introduction of recent support for break units as well as a nice light cone addition to the game in Indelible Promise, this has been alleviated to some degree. So, to sum up, she is a great 4-star quantum damage dealer who is about to have her shining moment, so you won't regret raising her and giving her a chance. For Eidolon investment, check out the video in the top corner. The link is also in the description. Moving on to the 4 stars from the second phase, Pela, Luka, and Hook. As before, it is important to note that you were able to select Luka from the 2.1 main event if you wanted. If you manage to get both Pela and Luka from the banner, you have the makings of a pretty decent dot team, especially if you also have Kafka. Pela is currently the best supportive debuffer from the 4-star choices, as she is easy to build and can function effectively in all team archetypes since she has an AoE defense down in her kit from her ultimate. And in case you didn't know, defense down is among the best types of damage amplification tools you can have. She also has buff removal on her skill, which is also one of the rarest abilities present in the game and can come in handy against a number of enemies. Luka is an interesting choice, as he is a single-target dot-focused unit with the ability to amplify both his own damage and the team's damage through his ultimate. You should also note that physical break is the highest hitting break in the game, so he can definitely pack a punch and might be a decent match with Gallagher if you also plan on getting him as well. For both Luka and Pela, please check out the video in the top corner for Eidolon investment. The link is also in the description. Hook is a decent fire DPS, especially if you do not have Himeko or Topaz. But while she is categorized as a destruction unit, most of her damage is single target, although she makes up a bit for this by having some tremendous weakness bar reduction capabilities. Because her kit revolves around burning the target, but she also wants to build crit, she is kind of in a conflicting identity state, where she is neither a dot unit nor a truly conventional DPS unit. But if you do want to give the lovable boss a chance, try to aim for a mix of speed, attack, and crit stats on her relics so you can enhance all the parts of her kit. For Eidolon investment, check out the video in the top corner. The link is also in the description. I will now touch the 5-star units of this patch, and the contenders are Robin, Topaz, Boothill, and Fu Xuan. But as I have already done a pre-release for both Robin and Boothill, please check out this video if you want to see more on them, including kit reviews and build recommendations. You can also expect a post-release on both of them where I will go more in depth. Therefore, in this segment, I will focus mostly on the rerun units Topaz and Fu Xuan. Let's begin with Topaz. Like Luocha, she was glossed over on release, mostly because the follow-up roster was not that developed, as her main partners at the time were 2 standard banner units in Clara and Himeko and the General. She also suffers a bit from being a hunt unit, as the main follow-up units are mostly AoE damage dealers, and she had a bit of controversy related to her role in the story. But that is neither here nor there. That is all in the past, however, with the introduction of more follow-up support in the name of the Grand Duke Relic set and the recent Planar sets as well. With the appearance of the Savior Doctor Ratio, as well as the galaxy's biggest gambler, Aventurine, and the recent addition of Robin to the mix, we are truly living in the best time to be a follow-up archetype enjoyer and to also be named Topaz. Why is that? Because Topaz is the best secondary DPS for the follow-up archetype, as she has great personal damage, but also amazing buffs and debuffs which will help boost the other allies' follow-up damage as well. She works great with all the other follow-up damage dealers as a secondary DPS due to the fact that she can be applied entirely skill point positive, as her basic will also count as a follow-up attack. Even at E0, the 50% damage buff she will provide to the team from her skill will be massive, But if you are also looking to vertically invest in her E1, you are looking at an additional 50% crit damage buff for all the follow-up damage to the target. Now also add Aventurine's ultimate 15% crit damage as well. We are at 65%, and for the sake of it, let's also add Robin's 20% from the talent, so 85% total. And if you are in Robin's ultimate, you are at 110% crit damage buff received by one target. And lastly, before I forget, her light cone adds 24% more to get to 134% crit damage. I doubt we have anything in the game with the required HP pool to survive this for a prolonged period of time. But alas, the investment needed to reach this point will be quite steep, although it is certainly doable and sounds like an incredible fun team to play around with, which should shine in the new end game mode, Apocalyptic Shadow. Moving on from calculations regarding her build, we had some pretty significant changes. The best set for her is the Pioneer set, and it should not be hard to maintain the debuff quota required depending on the team you use. For planar sets, while Glamoth and Salsodo are still good, the newly introduced Sigonia and Izumo are more convenient, depending on the situation and team you find yourself in. For light cones, nothing has really changed. Her signature will still perform the best, even more with the addition of Aventurine and Ratio, as the additional crit damage will be appreciated by both of them. But the Herta 5-star light cone is still a good choice, although she might fight Ratio for it. You can throw swordplay on her if this happens. And to also answer the burning questions you may have, Robin or Topaz. It depends on what other Harmony units you have. If you skipped both Ruin May and Sparkle, then Robin is 100% worth it, as she can be used easily by all the archetypes, and Harmony units have a higher priority compared to DPS units in terms of their general use. If you already have Ruin May and/or Sparkle, Topaz is the clear winner, as she will be the best secondary DPS you can slot in your follow-up team, and this is also her rerun, so it might be a while before she comes back again. What about her E1 versus her light cone? Her light cone is the biggest damage increase for your team, as it will boost the damage done by Topaz in the first place, while also providing a nice crit damage buff with half the value of her E1. It will also allow you to use the Herta 5-star light cone on Dr. Ratio, for example. Next up is Fu Xuan, and the choice is easy here. If you do not have her, get her. She is without a shadow of a doubt the best unit released so far in the game, and a mistake the developers I doubt will make again. What makes her so great? The fact that she will provide a permanent crit rate and HP buff, as well as enable your team to block a crowd control effect while her skill buff is active, and, oh right, she will make your team unkillable by absorbing the damage they receive to herself and reducing it at the same time. And of course, while doing all of this, you might think, yeah, well, that means that if you kill her, then the game is over. Well, no, as once she drops under 50% HP, she will heal herself back up for a truly reverse Uno moment. And she can do this indefinitely, as every time she uses her ultimate, she will get another stack of this self-healing, up to 2 at a time. If that wasn't enough, her ultimate will also heal your team when used, is a decent AoE breaking tool, and is easily cycled, as Fu Xuan will regenerate additional energy if she uses her skill again, while the skill buff is still active. My Fu Xuan has not left my main team since I got her, and has also not died once so far. So yeah, I can give her the Professor's full seal of approval. For the build, nothing has changed since her release. You still want a mix of Longevue and Wuthering Snow for relics, with either Fleet or Keel for planar. For light cones, her signature is a highly recommended pickup for the comfort it will bring to your life. It is not necessary to make her work, but trust me when I say that if you have Fu Xuan with her light cone equipped, you have secured your primary sustain unit for the foreseeable future of the game. Apart from her signature, Gepard's signature can work, as can Landau's or Day 1. The 5-star Herta light cone is also decent, although you need to pay attention during its downtime period. And that is all the units available in the 2.2 banners briefly analyzed. Now I want to know which units you are planning on going for. Will you follow my recommendations, or are you already set on your choices? Are you planning on investing in additional copies for either of them, or are you going for a light cone investment as well? And until next time, I am Professor Veritas Ratio, and remember, stay smart and sexy.